Q&A again. As promised, this is the one looking at the YouTube community questions. If you want to see the first one I did, answering Patreon questions, you can check it out here. Wait, yeah, here. Have you ever traveled out of the US/the Americas? If so, did you struggle to eat vegan? I have never left the US. Countries you'd like to visit because you know they have great vegan food. I guess I don't love food enough, because the thought of traveling just for food, I don't know, that doesn't sound particularly fun to me. I mean, when partner and I visited Portland before we moved here, we did just like eat food for 3 days, and that was pretty fun. But I don't know, having to get a passport and just go through all that. Like, I love food, but I hate traveling more than I love food, I guess. What would your response be to those who claim you are a meat eater apologist because you are more objective in your vegan activism and tend to focus on facts over feelings? For example, you discuss animal ethics a lot on your channel, but it seems like it gets overlooked and or criticized because you don't condemn meat eaters in the way, say, Freely does. So it's easy to dismiss that sort of criticism as like, oh, they don't like me because I criticized some influencer they like. I suspect that for the most part, that's what that is. Honestly, I think most of the time that's what that is. But I think there could absolutely be legitimate criticism of my channel, of the way I do things. Maybe I could focus more on animal ethics, environmentalism, whatever. Maybe I could be more positive or less negative or whatever. Maybe that would have a positive outcome on the channel, or, you know, people coming to the channel. I have no problem with people like voicing concerns like that. The issue I have, honestly, is with people just definitively stating that I do X too much, or I don't do X enough, or on the flip side, that what I'm doing is really, really good and I'm influencing so many people and convincing so many people to go vegan, and it's just an overall like positive channel. You know, either way, those are empirical claims, and I don't know of any evidence supporting like either side, supporting that sort of assertiveness, right? Just like 100% your channel is great, 100% your channel is bad for veganism or whatever. Other than the data supporting that, you know, most people tend to respond better to a nicer approach, you know, to veganism, and a more kind of gradual approach, instead of just go vegan, you murderer. But again, that's not like looking at my channel specifically, and it certainly doesn't like 100% support the kind of assertive claims, even in favor of my channel. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, meat eater apologists specifically, any person who uses that term, I don't really care what they think, to be honest. But someone just saying that, you know, maybe my approach could be improved in this or that way, that's totally fine. They could absolutely be right. Do you have any advice for vegan and non-vegan? Oh, vegan, non-vegan couples. So one's vegan, one's non-vegan. I went vegan after 6 years into a relationship, and my partner completely supports veganism. It breaks my heart that this journey isn't one we walk together, and I can't help but feel upset when she eats meat sometimes. Do you think you could be in a relationship with a non-vegan person at this point? No, I don't. If the person just like doesn't care or doesn't think critically about it one way or the other, that's a huge turnoff for me, and not really someone I'm interested in like spending all my time with, you know? If they do care, but they struggle to put it into practice for whatever reason, that's still a problem for me, because specifically meat, like I do not want meat in the house. Period. If they're vegetarian, if it's like eggs and cheese, that's one thing, but meat, no. And I mean, I can't imagine being in an intimate relationship with someone who feels totally comfortable just eating meat in front of me. Like they have no problem with that. They don't care that it bothers me so much. Yeah, that's not gonna work. If they're eating it elsewhere, maybe. Maybe. But they have to feel like really bad about it. Really what it comes down to for me is the person I'm gonna, you know, have a like life with, which is the kind of ultimate goal for me. I mean, I've already achieved that goal. At least for now, let's be real, you know, most relationships don't last. Kind of like most people don't stay vegan. I mean, you know. Point is, I wouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't hold the same philosophical views as I do, which does, you know, inevitably leads to veganism. So if we disagree on veganism, there's going to be a whole lot of other stuff that we don't agree on, and I don't know, that doesn't sound very fun. But it also doesn't mean that I'm, you know, just going to be with anyone who's vegan. Obviously, I don't think I even need to say that. But look, there's a lot of stuff that vegans believe that it's just no. Like I'm not going to be in a relationship with an anti-vaxxer. No. So yeah, if they're working toward veganism and not having meat in the house, that's one thing, but otherwise, no, not for me. It's not exactly veganism related, sorry, but what's your political affiliation if you don't mind answering? If it's too personal or just not something you want to share publicly, then maybe this broader question: how do your vegan beliefs intersect with your political ones? So I already answered this in the Patreon Q&A video, but it seemed to cause a lot of confusion. Understandably, I didn't really expand on it very much. I honestly was just lazy. I thought about it and then I was like, fuck it, they can Google it if they want. I'm sorry, that was my fault. So in that video I said I would describe myself as neoliberal, and this is a problem because neoliberal means a million different things to a million different people. To some people it's basically mainstream conservatism, to other people it's like libertarianism, to other people it's like mainstream Democrat even. The definition I use is really the way that pretty much every person I've seen who describes themselves as neoliberal, like unironically neoliberal, kind of the way that they describe themselves. Sam Bowman has a really good article on this. Pro-free market, consequentialists, care about the poor, the global poor, so not just poor people in the US or in his case in the UK. Empiricism over principle or being dogmatic. The world is overall getting better. Property rights are important, and redistribution of wealth is also important to an extent. People don't really deserve the talents they're born with any more than they deserve to have been born in a rich country rather than a poor one, or to be born in 1996 rather than 1896. Because of this, redistributing wealth or income from lucky people to unlucky people may be justifiable if it's done without depressing economic growth too much. In other words, I think neoliberals are generally pro what works to reduce suffering, which is something I talk about a lot on this channel. That's like, that's the thing I care about. It's why I'm vegan. And of course, there's going to be some disagreement on certain policies, right? I mean, there are some who describe themselves as neoliberal who are generally pro raising the minimum wage. I think most are not, or there's a little bit more nuance there. But yeah, in general, I think people who describe themselves as neoliberal, their approach to policy is the same. And most neoliberals do agree on a lot of the same things, like carbon taxes being a good, very necessary thing, and building more housing, particularly like multifamily dwellings, being a very good, necessary thing. Which is why I like the neoliberal description for me, because those are two things I care about very, very much. But I also generally do support free market and capitalism. And so those kind of things all together don't really put me Republican or Democrat. There's a lot of NIMBYism in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of NIMBYism in the Republican Party. Carbon taxes, generally Democrat, although there's a lot of crazy, the Green New Deal, I'm not a huge fan of at all. And then of course, Republican, not a lot of support for carbon taxes. Anti-welfare, pretty common on the conservative side. Although, depends if you're talking about politicians or like real life, quote unquote, Republicans. They seem to, at least for some people, support a lot of government intervention and programs for people. Whereas on the left, I feel like sometimes people just want to push things through because it's the end goal is a good one, even though the policy maybe not may not have a lot of evidence behind it, or there may be some unintended consequences there, which is something I think that certain libertarians are really, really good at, is considering those unintended consequences of expanding government or of enacting certain policies. Point is, I'm a consequentialist first and foremost. I care about reducing suffering, so I'm not wedded to any particular political ideology or description. I'm not really wedded to neoliberal. I think that's just the closest. Honestly, any policy, regardless of what party supports it or who supports it, if it's a policy that helps to achieve that goal of reducing suffering, then I'm gonna support it. Is your extended family vegan? If not, how do you handle the holidays, considering Christmas and Thanksgiving have a big focus on food? So first, several members of my family are like vegetarian or mostly vegetarian. Everybody is supportive. My aunt regularly sends me vegan related news and whatnot, recipes and stuff. It's great. My cousin even, who is nowhere close to veganism, he even sent me something recently about some sort of new vegan product. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky. Second, we always did Christmas and Thanksgiving differently. We never did a huge sit down Chevy Chase Christmas vacation where you've got the grandparents and the aunts and we never ever did that. I can't think of a single time we've ever done that. So Thanksgiving was always like immediate family, at the house. And I think I also talked about like my favorite Thanksgiving was me and my brother sitting in the living room eating homemade like fried rice and dumplings. Like that's what we wanted. So that's what my mom made for Thanksgiving. And we were watching Predator. It's awesome. So yeah, Thanksgiving has always been a bit different, and Christmas as well. Now my aunt for Thanksgiving and Christmas would do a big meal type thing, but it was more like a buffet thing where like you just come in at kind of whenever people just kind of show up at our house and you stay for a couple hours and eat and talk and whatever, and then you leave. There was never like you're sitting there and everyone else is sitting and it's time to eat and you're not eating anything because you're vegan. There was never anything like that. And she's always made sure that there was something like for everyone. I think I talked about before too, even when I was raw, like she had just a plate of like peaches and blueberries and stuff. It was so sweet. There's just little gestures like that, little things that people do that they probably don't even really think about, that they have no idea how much it affects that other person. Do you know what I mean? I have so many memories like that. And I've had experiences where I've told like my grandmother or whoever like this thing that they did, and they're just like, oh really, like that affected you that much? So just a little aside, I think it's nice to tell friends and family if you have little things like that. They've probably even forgotten. I guarantee you it'll make their day if you're just like, hey, this thing you did that like was really awesome, that really affected me, not to be sappy or whatever, but I guess I just wanted to be sappy. Thoughts on vegans retroactively taking away people's veganism? Ex-vegans were never vegan. They didn't do it for ethics, etc. It's not surprising, really, to me that so many people have that response. Ex-veganism, I think, makes many vegans really, really uncomfortable. And so instead of dealing with that uncomfortableness and thinking through it, they lash out and just deem the person unworthy and kind of move on. The reason it makes people so uncomfortable, I think, is because how can someone who previously cared about animals stop caring about animals? And if it could happen to them, could it happen to me? Could I stop caring about animals? It's way more comfortable to say, oh, no, actually, they never cared about animals. They never really cared about animals in the first place. They weren't really vegan. I do really care about animals. I am really vegan, so I'll be vegan forever. Okay. What do you see in the future for your children about veganism? For example, birthday parties, sleepovers, wanting to step out of veganism or not? Smiley face. When they're young, we'll do our best to ensure that they have vegan food and whatnot, like at sleepovers, anything like that. People always want to paint it as like an authoritarian thing, but number one, when they're young, kids want to do what they think is right generally. Like it's not rebellion time yet. So presumably my kid is not going to want to eat animals. They're gonna want to be like mommy and daddy. So I think it would be unfair of me to not ensure that if they are going somewhere, getting food from somewhere else, to not ensure that they have options to make that a reality for them, right? I mean, I would hate to send my kid to a sleepover and they end up having to eat meat and they find out and they're upset. Like, oh God, that would break my heart. In terms of getting older and wanting to eat animal products, I mean, look, assuming they have an allowance, they can spend their money on meat if they want to spend their money on meat. I'm not going to buy it for them with my money. I'm not going to control my kids once I've given them money. I mean, then what is the point of allowance? You know what I mean? Allowance is to give them that independence to learn how to spend their money wisely and to hopefully try to save money and all that kind of stuff. So of course you teach them those things, but once you've given them that, to me, it's their cash. They spend it how they want. So if they want to go buy McDonald's or whatever, that's fine. Just don't bring it into the house. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy about it. I'm not going to lie. Like if they want to know my opinion on it.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
If you were to personally make a vegan dish for non-vegans, what would your choice be? That is kind of tough. I think if it's something savory, I would do something with like Beyond Meat or Impossible, burger. So like maybe a Beyond Meat burger, Impossible burger, or tacos with Beyond Meat or Impossible, something like that. Basically something that's easy to veganize, that only has like one component that's not vegan and is easy to veganize, which to me, ground beef is easy to veganize now because of those two products. Basically nothing too healthy. And nothing with cheese, right? No vegan cheese. If it's sweet, that's so easy. There's so many options. So many of the stuff that you can veganize desserts and whatnot, it's like indistinguishable from the regular thing. I think again the exception would be like cheesecake and whatnot. That's very obviously not cheesecake. But cupcakes, cookies, any of that stuff, that's pretty easy. Just kind of pick something. Did you ever have a friendship drift apart because of veganism or related subjects? No, I don't think so. My friendships have always drifted apart because I'm a really bad friend who doesn't call or like do anything to maintain the relationship. So, I mean, that's the truth. Do you experience a sense of hopelessness and sadness when you see others consume animal products? If so, how do you cope with it? I don't often see people eating animal products, but sometimes it's kind of more random, I guess. I just randomly am really affected by the enormity of the situation, I guess, and not just animals, but like suffering in general. And it's definitely gotten worse since I've had children. I'm very sensitive. We've actually gotten to a point where we use the Does the Dog Die website before we start a new TV show or a movie. It's a real problem for us because I like horror and I like generally like darker stuff, which tends to have a lot of, dead babies and whatnot in it. But yeah, the hopelessness thing, that's rare. I think every few months or so, and it's fairly fleeting. But yeah, it's pretty awful. But just the general kind of just feeling sad about all the suffering in the world. I mean, it sounds kind of trite, but it's true. What's the opposite of that? Cute otters. Like that's what I'm obsessed with right now is Joey the otter, this little rescued otter. And I watched just video after video of this fucking otter because he's so adorable. And like, rescued animals, just that helps me like focusing on the animals who have been saved. Esther the Wonder Pig and Crouton the cow and just all these other animals. I like following accounts like that just show all these cute little goats and whatnot. My like YouTube the stories thing on my phone where it shows you random stories from people, it is just all kitties and puppies and otters and babies. That's the whole thing. And you know what? It makes me feel great. Are you mainly trying to reach vegans or non-vegans with your content? I don't know. I don't really consider it, honestly. I just kind of make what I want to make. And I mean, I'm concerned about like the influence of what I'm making, I guess. But in terms of like who I'm making it for, I don't know. I guess I don't really think about if it's for vegans or non-vegans. It's for anyone. What kind of socks do you wear? Are you an ankle sock kind of person? Or this one had like a fair number of upvotes, which was really funny to me. I am an ankle sock person. I was a like no-show sock person until recently, like just the lowest sock possible, but they started to really bother me. Like they weren't staying on. The back of my heel started to get scraped. I didn't get new shoes or anything. It was really weird. But now I got some higher up ankle socks that are like at the ankle. Those are pretty good. Now when it's winter, I do have warmer, higher up socks that I wear, but 9 times out of 10, ankle socks. Have you ever talked about why you left the raw vegan diet? What was the thing that made you realize it wasn't healthy? I think I have. Well, I had a whole video on why I started eating cooked food again. I think that's what it was called, something like that. Maybe I'll do a reacting raw to it, but basically it was cost. Well, really it was, I had already accepted and even like said out loud, posted like to people and talked in videos and whatnot about it not being necessary to eat 100% raw, just like mostly raw, and certain cooked foods were healthy and all that kind of stuff. It was just getting harder for me to justify like, why am I still doing it then? Just because I've been doing it? Like, what is this? And then the cost of it, because I didn't just eat bananas and all the cheaper stuff. I ate lots of papaya and tomatoes and pineapple and all that shit. So it was insane the amount of money I was spending. And so that just it just made me feel bad. Like, I'm spending all this money on food. That's not a good use of money. I felt bad about it. So that was the main thing, honestly. I would love to say that I was just super sick and dying or whatever, but no, I felt pretty good at that point because I was eating, I was still eating lots of fruit, but I was also eating vegetables and whatnot. And I was eating a little bit more fat as well. I was taking a, B12, making sure I was getting iodine and stuff like that. So I was already more focused on like meeting my nutrient needs from raw food. So I was doing much better than I had like, the few years prior to that. I did really, really like tomatoes like a lot. And I suspect that was iron maybe, although I didn't have like my typical sort of iron deficiency symptoms. So I don't know, maybe it was just nothing. I don't know, but it was mostly just cost and knowing that I don't have to do this. So like, why am I doing this? Also, I think I mentioned this too, going to the Woodstock Fruit Festival in 2000 whatever 12 or 13 or something. That kind of made me realize the weirdness of it all, the kind of cultiness of it all. I remember sitting there in the kind of welcome introduction presentation thing. We're all in this big room, and I just remember sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is just because we all like fruit. Like, what the fuck? This is so weird. Like, it's not really about ethics or anything or animals. It's because, you know, if you're eating cooked food, like, you can't be a presenter there or anything, right? Even if you're vegan, like, what the fuck? This is so stupid. And that might have honestly influenced my decision to stop more than I recognized at the time. I don't really know, but I didn't go back. I went 1 year and that was it for me. And I say culty, that's not fair. I don't, you know, everyone was nice there. And I honestly, I had some good experiences with a few people and I went on this awesome hike and there was some good stuff going on. But yeah, just the whole thing and just the whole reason that people were there, it's a little weird, you know, a little weird. Top 5 or 10 controversial opinions you have about veganism. I don't know. I talk about that a lot on this channel. I think probably my video on, is it 10 valid reasons to eat meat? Probably all of those. Probably all of those are considered controversial, other than the island one. What is, in your opinion, your best video in the past 2 years? So I was considering the bad science and bad theology, and then I went and looked, and it was actually posted exactly 2 years ago to the day, October 28th. It's October 28th when I'm recording this, so I had to choose that one. The universe told me to. Besides being vegan, do you do anything to live a more sustained, low-impact life? Yes, but not really. Not really me. It's more partner who does all that sort of stuff, the composting and the gray water stuff and getting rid of our grass, making our grass not grass anymore. I don't do that shit. I get to pretend like I do because it's a household, right? So the household is being green. So by extension, I'm very green. Super green. What are your ultimate comfort foods? Mine is either mashed potatoes with gravy and all the veggies or garlic bread. Yes, minus the veggies. Pretty much anything potato, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, fries, scalloped potatoes. I haven't had those in forever. Ooh. Cereal, honestly, maybe that's weird for a comfort food, but God, I fucking love cereal. Do you have any book recommendations for someone who is trying to transition into veganism? Vegan for Life for nutrition stuff is amazing. And for recipes, there are so many. Honestly, anything from Isa, her Easy Does It book is really great, but honestly, anything she's put out is really good. What is your favorite TV show currently? This was actually kind of hard. I spent way too much time on this thinking about shows, but we watched Kingdom recently, which is like such a generic name. I hate that that's what it's called. It's a South Korean show. Is that even what it's called? Hold on. It's called Kingdom. It's not the American thing. It's, if you type in Kingdom South Korean series, it'll come up. It's had 2 seasons. It's just great. It's just great. I loved every second of that show. What are your thoughts on Ancestry DNA and 23andMe? Have you gotten one of those tests done? I have. I did 23andMe a long time ago, like 8 years ago or something. Yeah, I'm not really interested in the ancestry stuff. I honestly could not care less about any of that stuff. It's more the genetic health type stuff that interests me, but yeah, it's cool. If someone struggles to absorb non-heme iron in sufficient quantities to avoid anemia, even while supplementing, what is the most ethical thing to do? Oysters. Thoughts on the ethics of wool? If I had a sheep myself, a sheep to shear, then like fine, that's fine, but otherwise I can't guarantee the well-being of the sheep, and there are alternatives, so I'll go with the alternatives. How do you make time for self-care so that your mental health doesn't suffer? I remember you talking about having depression a few years back. My depression is like stress, anxiety, sort of related. So anything that manages my stress and anxiety is good, is self-care. Taking my meds is absolutely self-care. Working out, sleeping, meditation, maybe, if I could actually do it. Playing video games, honestly, just, spending time with partner at night. Those are all really important to me. But I think one of the most important things that I do is like not spending every second entertaining my kids. I think that is something that particularly women, it's kind of a trap that we fall into, or that we kind of set for ourselves when we have children and you're a stay-at-home mom. Maybe without even thinking about it, just have this assumption or this expectation in your head that you have to be entertaining your children constantly. If you aren't feeding them or cleaning them up or, you know, putting them to bed or whatever, you still have to be doing something for them. And I think that is soul crushing for a lot of us. You know, it's a lot. You need time for yourself, and not just at night, in my opinion. So, you know, there are times during the day when mommy gets out the Switch and plays a little bit of games for a little while, and the kids play on their own. And I have 2 kids, which I know makes a difference, and they do like play together pretty much all day. There's some fighting and stuff, of course, but they're generally like really good about just playing and hanging out with each other. So obviously that makes a difference, but a lot of the time they don't really care if I'm playing with them or not. Like they're chilling on their own, which, you know, I'm not going to complain. I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, what do you not, I want to build. I want to play with blocks. How has your body changed after pregnancies? Have you been able to feel comfortable with yourself again? I pretty much feel the same. I mean, I didn't gain a lot, number one, with either pregnancy. So, you know, you lose quite a bit just after giving birth, getting rid of the baby and the placenta and the water weight and stuff. And then it didn't take long for me to get rid of any excess fat that I had gained. So that wasn't a huge deal. I didn't have any stretch marks with first pregnancy. With tiny baby with second, I did have some on my stomach, but it's mostly gone now, which wasn't surprising because, you know, my breast grew a lot and also very quickly. So I have some like stretch marks here, but they're very, very, very light. They're more just little indentations. They don't really have any color. And a little bit, I think, on my hips or on my waist as well, just like really, really light. So that's not too surprising that anything, I pretty much expected if I did get anything on my stomach, you know, from pregnancy, that it would pretty much go away, which it has, so that's cool. Diastasis recti, I didn't get with either pregnancy in terms of like doing the little test. Now, my you know, lower tummy, I feel like it's maybe a little bit poochier than it was, but partner's like, no, and he looks at it probably more than I do. So I don't know, maybe he's right, but I feel like it maybe just a little bit is. But yeah, in terms of like how I feel in my body, I don't know. I feel the same. But obviously it's different for every person. And I think if you want some idea of what to expect for yourself, I think asking the women in your life who you're related to, you know, your mom, aunts, grandma, even if you have that sort of relationship, if you can ask them about this sort of stuff, I think that's a good idea. You know, do you have stretch marks? What does your belly button look like, you know, after pregnancy? Prolapse, are you dealing with any, you know, I feel like if you have that sort of relationship with like your mom or someone, if you can just go, hey mom, uterine prolapse, is that a thing for you? I feel like you're doing all right. You know, you've got a pretty healthy relationship. No guarantee, obviously, in terms of the results you're going to get or what your body's going to be like or anything, but I think that's can give you a good gauge because a lot of it is genetics in terms of like scarring and stretch marks and stuff like that. So it should give you some idea of what to expect. What is your workout routine? How did you get into lifting weights? So currently I do about 30 minutes, not including my little warm-up stuff, kind of back related stuff that I do for 15 minutes or so. And then my like lifting weight stuff is like 30 minutes, and I do that 4 times a week. It's full body using pretty light weights for now. I'm just getting back into things. I started lifting again, I guess, 4 weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago today. So that's exciting. For those who don't know, I was like, I need to fix my back. It was really, really bad. And it was bad no matter what I did. If I didn't work out, it was bad. If I did work out, it was bad. I'll probably do a video update more in detail about everything that's going on and my back and everything. So yeah, I'll probably do that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. How did I get into lifting weights? So I got into lifting weights because I wanted to be healthier and I wanted to lose weight, really, you know. This was when I was like a teenager still. And so I was trying to do cardio because that's what you do, right? And I was trying to run and do the treadmill and like watching shows. I remember watching Aeon Flux because I had the DVD box set. I still have it. And I was watching that and like on the treadmill. And like after 5 minutes, I would just sit down on the floor and watch the rest of the episode. It was so sad. So I learned pretty quickly, like, I can't do this. And also I don't know, it physically hurt, just my lungs and everything. I was trying to do too much too soon is probably what it was. But yeah, I was just not adapted to that at all. And it just felt horrible. It felt wrong. So somehow, I don't know how, but I got a DVD. It was the Kathy Smith Lift Weight to Lose Weight 2, I think is what it was called. It was the second one. And yeah, that's how it started. And I got some dumbbells and I remember doing it, like the workout for the first time, and I just loved it. I was like, this is great. This is so much better. This is so much like more fun, and I don't know, I just loved it. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I didn't get to everyone's question. I'm sure this video is still going to be like 30 minutes long, so I had to stop somewhere. Very sorry if I didn't answer your question, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you want to subscribe, that's cool. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan, onlyfans.com/unnaturalvegan. Don't worry, it's not sexual stuff. It's just me talking about random stuff, you know. I think the last video I was talking about stickers and I don't even know what else. It's ridiculous. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will have a new video soon. Probably not before Halloween, so happy Halloween, and I hope you have a good one. I mean, just to show how confusing it is, I saw one comment where someone was like, I would guess that you're center-left, but you're neoliberal. It's like, well, I think a lot of people would describe neoliberal as center-left, like, including a lot of neoliberals. So yeah, it's confusing. Maybe it's not a great term to use because it is just so fraught with inconsistencies. And I mean, everyone from full-on libertarians to like Obama are considered neoliberal. So I don't know. I think it's important to have like a definition for kind of what I stand for and certain policies that are really important to me, because I don't feel like I align totally with Democrats or totally with Republicans, certainly not totally with the far left or the far right or centrism, whatever the fuck that is. But yeah, maybe neoliberal is just it's too far gone, you know, got to come up with something else. I guess I forget that these things are really, really important to people, that having labels like that. So when I say neoliberal, it's like, it's a huge deal because people, I don't know, I guess they take identities just really, really seriously. And of course, if you think neoliberal means whatever toxic thing it means to you, you know, I guess that's concerning. I don't know.